question has been asked many times how the people who are perpetrating these things expect to do this and make it last. And the answer to that is that you steal a generation of children and you indoctrinate them so that they accept these ideas and they become global citizens in the coming global village.
UNESCO came out and declared 2005 to 2015 the decade of education for sustainable development. But they go on to say that it will encompass the 40 chapters of Agenda 21. That is your federal national curriculum. The entire purpose of second grade social studies is to transfer loyalty from the family to the government and teach them about sustainable economic consumption. Students construct their own understandings of reality and realize that objective reality is not knowable. So why bother? The truth is, the truth, which keeps men free, is being suppressed in order to prop up the attitude training agenda. And it moves on. This is our new math called connected mathematics. Standard 3 tells us that students learn that mathematics is man-made, that it is arbitrary, and good solutions are arrived at by consensus. Most of us assume 2 plus 2 is always going to equal 4. You're wrong. We might reach a new consensus. How well does it work? Well, they tell you in the teacher's guide in the back. It tells us that because the curriculum doesn't emphasize arithmetic computations done by hand, some students may not do as well on tests assessing computational skills. We believe such a trade-off in the favor of CMP is very much to the student's advantage in the world of work. Our children are mathematically illiterate on purpose. How do I know on purpose? Why isn't this just a basic bad idea? Because the Sustainable Development Plan tells us so. Generally, more highly educated people who have higher incomes consume more resources than poorly educated people who tend to have lower incomes. In this case, more education increases the threat to sustainability. Charlotte Iserby, I owe you an apology. I did not believe for the longest time it was a deliberate dumbing down. I thought the dumbing down was a natural consequence of a bad idea. Folks, it's deliberate. It's deliberate.
The sustainable globalist goal is the orchestration of a planned fall of American principles, values, and lifestyles. The effect on the average American will be devastating. With modernizing technology, the ordinary person will live without independence.
But even under the new Common Core, even if they said 3 times 4 was 11, if they were able to explain their reasoning and explain how they came up with their answer really in words and in oral explanations, and they showed it in the picture, but they just got the final number wrong, we're really more focusing on the how and the
way. Going to be correcting them.
Oh, absolutely, right? Absolutely. We want our students to compute correctly, but the emphasis is really moving more towards the explanation and the how and the why, and can I really talk through the procedures that I went through to get this answer, and not just knowing that it's 12, but why is it 12? How do I know that?
It is called Common Core, and the idea behind it is reasonable. States working together to create national standards for education. Standards that are designed to be robust and relevant in the real world. Well, it sounds good. So why is there growing opposition in Ohio and around the country to Common Core? Ben has the reality check you won't see anywhere else.
Well, chances are you may not have heard of Common Core before, and yet Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana have all adopted the Common Core state standards. Go to the website, and here's what you'll find. Common Core is focused on 2 things, mathematics standards and English language arts standards. It was created by the National Governors Association Center for Best Practices and the Council of Chief State School Officers. So this isn't some federal unfunded mandate, and all of it sounds good, right? So why is there growing opposition in Ohio and across the nation to Common Core? The group Ohioans Against Common Core say that what the public has been told about this initiative so far is not the truth. For instance, even though the National Governors Association is behind the initiative, it's not actually state-led. The Common Core standards were initiated by private interests in Washington, D.C. not from state lawmakers. The National Governors Association and the Council of Chief State School Officers are both D.C.-based trade associations. In fact, the majority of the creative work was done by a group called Achieve Incorporated. It's a progressive nonprofit group based out of D.C. and received a lot of funding from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Okay, so Common Core wasn't created by the states, but 45 states in the country have adopted it, so it has to be a good thing, right? Well, even though the National Governors Association is cited as the author of Common Core, the feds have had a big hand in it. The Department of Education helped to create Common Core, poured hundreds of millions of dollars into 2 consortia that are creating national tests aligned with Common Core. And the states that adopted it, well, they did so to remain eligible for Race to the Top federal funding. So with the feds involved, what does Common Core actually mean for states? Well, for starters, Common Core establishment no longer claims that the standards are internationally benchmarked. Their website now states they're informed by the standards of other countries, though there's no definition of informed by. It means streamlined curriculum created not by the states, but by private associations and nonprofits in Washington, D.C. The Fordham Institute, a proponent of Common Core, admits that several states had standards that were superior to CC, and that many states had standards at least as good. Common Core has been described by many as a, quote, race to the middle. Well, what this means for you is that ultimately Common Core means that states will, over time, give up control over curriculum in their schools. States are not allowed to change any of the Common Core standards. Common Core says, well, look, they're not about curriculum, they're only about those standards. And yet those 2 testing consortia being funded by the U.S. Department of Education have admitted in their grant applications that, yeah, in fact, they would use the money to develop curriculum models for the nation.
A Vermilion Parish mother is outraged today after her 4th grade son wants to know what a pimp is, a word he learned from his homework. It was a song that climbed the charts in the 1990s, but is now causing quite a headache for one Eaton Elementary School mother after her son began asking questions about his homework.
He wants to understand all of these things and wants to know, what it is. What is a pimp? What is a mobster?
The assignment was meant to reinforce their ability to read real-world text. The example used was describing a real-life rapper named Twista, who appeared in the group Do or Die song called Po Pimp.
If they had to use, that type of genre, I feel like they could have even used a more positive artist, not something that's so degrading and so disrespectful.
The superintendent of Vermilion Parish Schools, Jerome Pio, said the supplemental material was pulled from a national database and approved by the district.
We did not write this. We are aligning to the Common Core state standards. We want to ensure that what we provide is appropriate. We are constantly looking, analyzing, and editing, and we will listen and make changes as needed.
Our children are tomorrow, and so to fix tomorrow, we have to fix it today.
And that mother hopes by speaking up, the curriculum will be changed. In Abbeville, I'm Rob Malia for KLFY Multimedia News.
This and understand, Common Core is again an attack on middle-class white America. Why? Because everybody is not going to go to college, but who has been exempted from the indoctrination of our federal government? Those that send their kids to private schools and those who have endeavored to homeschool their children. Let us face the fact. Most black folk, Hispanics, other minorities don't homeschool their kids. So who's doing most of the homeschooling? White folk. Most folk don't send their kids to private schools because they simply can't afford it. So whose kids are mostly in private schools? White folks. Well, with Common Core, no one will be exempt and all the kids will be subjected to government indoctrination to what they think a one shoe fits all sizes. And we know that that just doesn't work. Please wake up. Smell.
I went to Essex Community College. I finished at the University of Maryland. And now I moved my family out to Howard County because of the reputation of the schools.
Okay, so in all fairness to other parents who submitted questions, I do want to be fair, sir.
Community college, and it's so
Sir.
my question is, how are we? You're talking about college, but you're not talking about which colleges. You're not preparing them for World Harvard. Okay, my question is, how is lowering America's educational standards to prepare kids for community college? Because that's what it's all about. Because you mentioned before that the emphasis is, and I have some stuff here to quote before this guy tries to carry me out.
Okay.
But hey, listen, parents, take control. This is not a CNN political debate. Let's go.
Let him ask his question.
This is what I will say, in fairness to everyone who asked questions, we do have some that are dovetailing to that.
Let him ask his question.
So the next question. So this is a dovetail.
Listen, don't stand for this. You're sitting here like cattle. You have questions. You confront them. They don't want to do it in public.
Okay, the next
Excuse me, buddy. Hey, this is America. This is not a CNN political debate. You're managing the children. Hey, that's right. Parents, you need to question these people. Do the research. It's online. Top 10.
Okay, so the next question to our panelists. The next question to our panelists is Dr. Lowry.
I'm not an activist. I don't have experience. I'm a parent. I have a right to speak.
Okay, so
You're asking softball questions.
And again, I do want to be very respectful to everyone who asks questions. And so the next question really is, Dr. Lowry, to you, because you work so closely with 2- and 4-year institutions. Is the Common Core state standards implementation by Maryland an attempt to filter students to the community college?
Now they're concerned.
So I'll repeat the question. Dr. Lowry, because